Hey folks, this is the Nutty Knife Guy holding a knife. Yes, of course. Of course it is. It's the Nutty Knife Guy. Okay. What I've got for you today, folks, is the Ontario Sp6 fighting knife. Ontario actually has the guts to call a fighting knife a fighting knife. Not an outdoor knife, not a camp knife, not a survival knife, not even a tactical knife. It says right here, fighting knife. I respect that. A little more. Alright, what we got here is the Sp6. Like all Ontario blades, 1095. And I didn't sit down prepared for this, so I don't have the specs handy, so we'll just measure it online. We'll just measure it, right? We've got a overall length of, I'll get it here, 13 inches. A blade length of what looks to me 7 3/4 inches. One of those beautiful Ontario rubber handles. Right, I love the handles on the Ontarios. I've got an SP5, I've got an SP13, now I have the SP6, and I will be getting the Marine Recon Raider Bowie. Marine Raider Bowie, because I love the handles. Now this is an Ontario knife, so I expect this to do well. I'm not really worried about breaking this one like I am some of the knives that I've had before. But because Ontario is a really well-respected company. It gives you affordable, high-quality stuff, especially with their XP line. Excuse me, SP line. I'm going to take it out to the war post. There's not a whole lot more to say about the knife. I expect it to do well. I'm going to try to do a couple of things with it out there that it's really not made for. It is a fighting knife. They make no bones about it. So it's not really supposed to be a chopper. It's not supposed to be any kind of a camp knife. And you can feel that it's kind of handle heavy, just a little bit handle heavy. It's got that nice sleek blade with a piercing point, and it's really light. It's really nimble. So we'll take it out to the war post and see what happens. Now, my one complaint about Ontario, excuse me for just a second, got something in my eye. Driving me crazy. The one thing that I wish that they would do better at Ontario is the sheaths. Now this is a very well constructed sheath. It'll probably last forever. Good solid stitching. It is MOLLE compatible. One of the retention strap down here is ambidextrous. You can slide it back and forth so it goes over the back of the handguard, not the blade edge of the handguard like so many of them do. No, I never did like that. But I don't understand why they always put two retention straps on it. I guess even if you're carrying it upside down, this one is all you need if you're carrying it upside down on your MOLLE. My biggest problem with the OKC though with sheaths is they don't give you any carry options. You've got to put it vertically on your belt. Well, I think that they should offer at least the option of a Kydex sheath that you can do horizontal carry with. Now this one, as I said, it's one of the newer types of sheaths that they're putting out for Ontario. It has a plastic insert that goes all the way through, so you're not going to cut up your nylon. But having just worn this a little bit already, you really do need a leg tie. Mine didn't come with one. I don't know if that was just an oversight on OKC's part or it didn't. But if you don't have a leg tie, it is going to be doing this on your thigh. And I'm not a big one for leg ties. I really wish this could be worn just horizontally on the belt. But these MOLLE straps are just way too tight to get from a decently thick felt into. So that's done. We're going to take it out the war post, bang it around, slice up some jugs, make some vampire deterrents, and see what happens. I will see you when I get to the war post. Okay guys, we are at the war post, and I will commence the hacking pretty soon. Now, you might notice that the war post is kind of chopped up. So what do you think? Let me know. Should I just keep using this one all next year until I whittle it down to a toothpick, or should I replace it in the spring? Alright, here we go. The Ontario Sp6 versus the war post. Get it a little better in frame here, I think. A little hard to see. Okay. Here we go. Okay, first of all, fighting knife. This thing is really nimble. It feels great. And it just flows. Let's see how it does with some good thrusting. Doesn't have as much bite with the tip as I would like. But the tip's holding up. But I honestly thought this would have better penetration. Okay. I'm going to do a couple of really hard whacks. And you can see the shavings flying off of here, so. But I'm a little bit disappointed. There we got a little, there I got a little bite. I guess you have to go with a kind of a upward or a side angle instead of straight on with this thing to get any penetration with the tip. And it would probably help if it's something that wasn't moving, but I like a moving part. Makes me more accurate. Okay. Now, I'm going to move you over here a little bit. And see how she does against the bottles. Okay. Again, these are laundry detergent bottles, so they're a little thicker than water bottles. If you can slice through this, you can probably get through just about anything. Now, I don't have them against anything hard this time, so they're going to give. But then, so do things in the real world, right? Okay. Didn't get through the skin on that one. We'll try again. Okay, on that one, that was a good clean cut. See if I can do this again without getting soaked. Okay, this one also went through. I'll show you the bottles more closely here in a minute. Okay, let's see what they do on the other bottle with the stab and rip. I'll get them oriented right here. That was my bad. I didn't get the rip in. That's better. I'm going to let those drain. I'm going to let those drain because it's cold out here and I don't want to get wet. But this is a pretty light knife. And it's typical, I've noticed this before. It did scratch up the coating a little bit going through the bottles, but that'll be easy to get off. But bashing it up against the post and cutting through water bottles didn't do diddly to the blade or the edge. Not really designed for it, but let's see if we can do some chopping. I'm going to turn you around here. No, I won't be chopping my cane. Okay, get it in frame here. Go get my chopping doohickey. Okay. Now, we're going to do some chopping here. I'm going to hold it back here with the little bird's beak in between these two fingers to give me a little extra leverage. Okay, like I said, this knife is really too light and too short to do any real chopping, but here's where it was going, and of course this thing was bouncing around, not the most accurate thing in the world when it comes to the chops. But you can see there's no edge roll here, and that was the real point of that test. Okay, and after all of that, we'll take the other end of this, because there's already a vampire deterrent on one end, and see if we can make a vampire deterrent with this. Well, that was wet, it broke. We'll just cut that off of there. Well, that shows you something right there, then it just sailed right on through that, but we'll make the vampire deterrent. Yeah, see, this is just still stupid sharp after all of that. Now, a lot of people are probably thinking, well, he doesn't baton. And you're right, I don't. And there's two reasons. Two reasons for that. First of all, I do live in a town. I live in a small town, but I live in a town, and there's not a lot of material to baton with. And second of all, even though the batoning is a very valid test of an endurance for a blade, it's not the be-all end-all, and the fact of the matter is most people that buy these knives are never going to baton with it. If anything, they'll do what I do with it. Not necessarily the personal protection stuff, but the little sharpening, maybe a little chopping, that type of thing. You know, and there's always people that are going to be auto baton if you want to see that. We'll be going for the wrap-up in just a minute. But first, let's take a look at these bottles. Okay. Okay. Now this is the one I slashed. This is the first slash that didn't get through. That was probably due to my lack of skill. Okay. This is the second slash that went right through all the way to here. And this third slash caught it here as it was moving around and also went pretty deep. Here's the first stab where I didn't get the slash because it was moving around to pull off the blade. But here's the other one. There's where the blade went in, and there's where I slashed out. And you can see these are pretty thick bottles. So this should do good service in the event that you are attacked by lizard zombie ninjas. Possibly even if they're wearing armor. Downstairs for the wrap up in a minute. Okay, so that's the Ontario Sp6 fighting knife. Apologies for not getting the close-ups of the water bottles exactly in frame. It's a little hard to see this little screen with some glare outside. I'll try to be mindful of that next time because I am going to be making those water bottle tests, the detergent bottle tests, a regular thing. I think that's a very informative test. And besides, you saw just the water spray. The first time I didn't get through, that was my bad. I think it was moving a little bit, my timing was off. So it was my lack of skill, not the knife. The second time, I mean, it sailed through, and you can see that plastic is not the thinnest thing in the world. It's not a little water bottle. I don't drink bottled water. I drink out of the tap. I don't keep soda around the house, so I don't have those kind of bottles around anyway. And I really do think that for when you're doing real-world slashing and piercing techniques, that those, well, not techniques, but tests, that those water bottles, that the detergent bottles are a much better indicator of what the knife is capable of. Other than the sheath, I don't have a lot bad to say about this knife, except for a fighter. I was surprised that I really didn't get a whole lot of penetration into that wood. And looking at it is because the tip is angled slightly up. It is a very slight clip point, but because of that, when you thrust and you want to get penetration, you have to kind of sideline the knife, not go straight, but kind of come in at an angle to get your tip on line. So that's the only thing I have bad to say about this knife. It's light, it's nimble, it's tough, holds its edge, and you know, the knife itself is great. Again, and I say this about Ontario in general. If an Ontario person happens upon this video, offer sheaths with different carry options. Don't just make them the dangler on the belt. Give me horizontal carry. Give me Kydex. I would love to have Kydex. I'm a fan of Kydex knives for any knife that might be carried in the field. But the knife itself, you can't go wrong with an Ontario. This was about 35 bucks from Amazon. Now I have a theory. These things are pretty much comparable to any K-bar you're going to buy. But I think the only reason that these are so much less expensive than K-bars is that K-bar is a much more well-known company. That's my theory. I think you're paying about $30 or $40 for the K-bar name when you buy a K-bar. Now, Ontario is known to knife people very well, and you know, in the outdoors world in general. But to the general public, you know, it's no contest when it comes to name recognition with K-bar. And there are people out there who aren't really into knives, but want K-bars. And K-Bar knows that. That's just my theory. I don't have any proof of that. But if you're looking for a knife that will just last and work, it's hard to go anything. It's hard to go wrong with any one of the SP series from Ontario. Like I said, this is my fourth one. Now I've had an SP5 for about 20 years. I've used it to clear brush when when we had other properties. I probably should have had it ready to show to you, but I'll show it to you eventually. And it's all scratched up and everything like that, but the coating on it is just got a little chip somewhere. Bang, bang, boom, bang. I mean, I would just use that thing like crazy. And I have an SP13, which I've had forever. That's the Spec Plus Tanto, which I don't think they make anymore, but I've had that for probably 30 years. And, bashed it up against wooden targets and did practice cutting with it. And it's still holding up fantastically. So you're going with an Ontario. You're not going to pay a whole lot for it, and you're going to get a lot out of it. That being said, remember, draw your knives only in just purpose. Sheathe them only with honor. I will learn to speak. And remember, without knives, life would be dull and pointless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help me grow the channel. Tell me what you'd like to see in future videos in the comments. I always welcome comments. I will respond. And I bid you goodbye.